promoting doing the lottery, but I do want to talk about remote viewing and how easy it is and how natural it is, and that if you have a spiritual awareness, you're constantly naturally doing it anyway. And I'll give you an example of something that happened today, but I'll explain the remote viewing process and how easy it is and how you can even use it if you wanted to win the lottery. For example, today I just had this feeling, go get a game, and I got a dice out and I rolled the dice in my hands with my eyes closed, put it to the side with my eyes closed still, and immediately I saw a number on it in my head. I saw what the top number was, and I didn't feel it, I didn't try to cheat. And then I imagined I was very small, and as if the top of the dice was in front of me, and I'm looking at the dots, and I saw that pattern, 4 dots on it. And that's the same number I saw immediately at the beginning, was a 4 flash. The 4 dots flashed in my mind. And so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna say it's a 4. And I opened my eyes and it was a 4. I was like, wow, that was awesome. And it was crystal clear. It was just as if my eyes were open looking at it. And I did it a few more times, and the other 3 times it wasn't as accurate, but it was close. You know what I mean? I saw this diagonal, and I was like, huh. And I kept looking at it different ways in my mind because my eyes were closed. I'm like, okay, I'm just seeing this very distinct diagonal, okay. And I was like, okay, I see 3 dots. And then when I opened my eyes, it was the exact diagonal, but it was 2. I was like, oh, that's strange, right? But I saw the exact, as I'm looking at it, the profile, exactly. So I was like, huh. Why did I get off of, why was I a little off? And those other 2 times, I believe it was the same experience. It was very close, but a little bit off. In all my years of doing remote viewing, I've realized the first time is the most accurate. And so when you draw some numbers, I'll explain the process in a second, but you do one and then you do another one, and you look back at your first one, you're like, whoa, I got it, it was so accurate. And then the next one, it's like, huh, that's a little odd, but maybe. And then, it gets you're more and more off until the last one, you're just way off. And I've reviewed things with my clients. We've looked at the future, we've looked at events, we've looked at who their soulmate is, and I draw it with them. I draw everything, and I ask these questions. We've gone over so many different future predictions, I guess you could say, just looking at the future in different ways, or looking at what's best for their life. And I like to do it along with them to confirm for them. And it's so fun because even after we see those things come to pass, and they happen, and it's awesome. And sometimes it's they think it's not going to happen. I'm like, no, I'm getting every single sign. I saw it in the remote view. I know it's going to happen. Don't worry. I just know. And I keep getting downloads it's gonna happen, and Spirit's just there's this big surprise, I can't ruin it for you, it's gonna happen, but and then it does. And it's awesome. But one time when my daughter was, before she was born, I asked one of the questions I just asked, and I had maybe 10 questions in a pot with assigned numbers. I just picked one, and I drew the circle and all these squiggles, and I was like, huh, it looks like a bowl of pasta. And then when I looked at the question, it was what does my daughter look like when she's born? I was asking about as she's being born or something, I don't know. And I don't know why I asked it that way, but it was her curly, crazy hair, and she always had long, beautiful hair from the day she was born. So that's what that was. That was my favorite remote view ever, besides some of my ones with my clients. Just makes me happy to see their dreams coming true. It's what they want so bad. We see that it's going to happen. And you can also project into the future what you want to happen. You know, it's not just about looking into the future, it's about projecting. And, you know, like I've said, I'm also into the divine will, but so much of this, you know, I mean, this helps increase your ability to connect to people and to connect to God and to connect to what God's will is for their life. So like suddenly you might start seeing what someone's future is going to be and what their purpose is. So the more you do things like this, it strengthens your spirit to be able to pick up on things. But you always need to have a Holy Spirit with you so that the truth comes in and not what information from an entity or some false source. But I've not really noticed a lot of that falsity come through. I've just often noticed the truth coming through. What you do with remote viewing, it's so simple. You just get a piece of paper, write down a 7-digit number, write down the question underneath, and then write down the number again on another piece of paper, and cut out that number on this other piece of paper and put it in a hat or a bucket or basket or something, bowl, and put this piece of paper with the question to the side, and just do that for 10 or 20 questions. And then when you're ready, you get a blank piece of paper, you pick a number, you don't make sure you don't remember what the question is to that number. And well, first you want to do maybe a meditation. You can count down from 100 to 1, get on the alpha state, and or whatever it is, kind of letting like light or something come down. But counting backwards, I think, has always been the best thing for me, or connecting with the divine, with God, letting God come in until you kind of feel that. You feel joy build up and love. And then you write that number, and then whatever comes through. You might go through the physical states, the smells, the sounds. Like you kind of have a checklist. You're like, okay, what does it smell like? What does it sound like? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What sensations are coming over me? How does it think? How does it feel? And for me, because I do remote energy work for a living, right when I thought of it, one of my remote view sessions. Wow, I gotta talk about that in a minute. So I'm remote working all the time. I have a whole energy mass come to me, but it's constant. My life for 12 years has been just this remote energy exchange constantly. And so as that has built up, when I write that number, suddenly the energy of the thing comes in it's an experience. Like you're there, like you feel it. And like, whoa, it's just like, and so the more you do this kind of work, the more of these sensations, and the more you connect with other people, and the deeper and richer your relationships are. And it's just, I've talked about this in videos for years. Just normal 3-dimensional living is nothing compared to 5D, just this remote, luscious yumminess. And maybe you know, because you do this sort of things. But anyway, I want to talk about this one example. So I had seen a ship with my daughter, like a UFO, and I used to record them. They're on my channel. But we saw a really bright light going over town. It took like 20 minutes to go over. It was so slow, so bright, and just went over by this mountain. To her, she thought it landed, but I was like, I'm pretty sure it just kind of went over the mountain or something like that. But I went home that night and remote viewed it, and I wanted to know what was on that light. Was it a ship? What was in it? And this blew my mind. So I wrote out all these things, but I had wrote several different questions. So I always test myself and make sure I don't remember what I'm asking. So I may have done this actually another night, I don't remember, but I did several remote views. And with each one, like one was a love letter from a client's, I don't know, some person. Like I wanted to know what that person felt and thought about her. And then right when I started, it was like all this emotion, all this love. It was like a poet. And I had all this, I mean, I did not know what I was asking. Do you know what I mean? Like I didn't know, I just had a number. And it was like suddenly this love, like right when I wrote that number down, this love and this just amazing, like poetry, like the deepest, most amazing letter you could ever receive. I just like wrote out. And it was for her. I could feel it. I'm pretty sure I was crying during the experience. And then I put that to the side before checking. And then I wrote this other one out. It's like, whoa. Suddenly I wrote like gases, time machine, 1200, cesspool, bubbles. I drew a figure and it looked like a gray alien. And I wrote all these other details. And the thing that struck me was cesspool. And then I drew out this thing, and somehow I got the image that there's like this weird pool of liquid. It was kind of yellowish, and people being put in it. And I started looking it up, and I remember telling my friend about it. I was like, this is weird. I had this remote view, and there was this weird cesspool on the ship. And he was like, oh, you didn't know about that? Like, he's like, yeah, here, let me send you this article. So I was like shocked, because I thought this guy didn't know anything. And so he sent me this article, and right as I read it word for word was a experience I had when I was in the 3rd grade. And instead of the experience was a dream, but this dream never felt like a dream. You know what I mean? It stuck in my mind. It gave me the creepiest feelings I've ever had. And I could never forget that dream. I always remembered it moment by moment. And I've never remembered any other dream like that, where it's like you could not forget it. And the fact that I just read my dream in an article just freaked me out. And I'm like, it had to do with the cesspool. So I'm like, that may have not been a dream. And what it was, and I've seen how like the Greys, when I've read lots of more stories about this, like they disguise, like instead of looking like them, they'll look like an owl, or they'll look like something else, and they can change the environment. But in my dream, there was me and my stepdad and my mom, whom I lived with and was with them when I was having the dream. We were out in nature, and we were up in a tree, and there was this figure on the end of the branch. He was like, you need to jump, and you're gonna end up in that pool. It was like a pond in my experience. And I was like, I just knew you did not want to be in there. You did not want to be in that water. And below me was the ground. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna jump down, and I'm gonna will myself to land on the ground. And I was like, I'll be the brave one. Y'all just watch me, and I'll do it first. I jumped, and I didn't go straight down. Somehow I ended up in that water. And as I landed, it's like jello. I couldn't move. And I looked around me, and there was bodies everywhere stuck in there. And it freaked me out. And when I was reading that article, it was word for word like that, like other bodies that are just kind of suspended. And it's this gel that, I don't know what it does. I forget, but it changes your, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what it does to people, but you know, lots of people who've had abductions like talk about that. And I'm like, wow, I had a dream exactly like that. And I had never seen anything in a movie like that or on TV for there to be a reason to have a dream like that. You know what I mean? Like, I was not thinking anything like that. It's so out of the blue. I never had dreams like that. Never had bad dreams. And it was really weird. So you know, just me seeing the ship and then describing these things, it kind of answered something that happened when I was in 3rd grade. Answered that dream that just never felt right. You know, it just never seemed like a dream. And then apparently there's people reporting that they've had that experience, but in real life, like in the middle of the night. So anyway, remote viewing, it's awesome. And yeah, it trains your mind to be able to, like, I mean, this happens to me every day. I don't even have to write the number anymore. It's just like, I know when someone's coming. Like, say someone's coming to my house, like, I see when they get here. I see who's about to call me. And it gets clear. I mean, it's just like, I know. And it's like saying, it's really useful when you know someone's about to come to your house, but they may be in the next 2 hours. It's like the instant. And you know, or you just know anything and everything. It's like you just get the information, the download. So you just have to ask yourself, well, what will be the best thing to do? And it's like, bam. And people who aren't connected to that, you know, they just, it may take a much slower process for them to get those answers. But yeah, it's really awesome. And eventually you don't even have to go through that military process of writing a number out. But it is so cool, and I recommend it. It can be used for anything. But I would never use it to spy on anyone or to do harm or like look at some personal information that you're not supposed to. You know what I mean? There's morals with it. And when you break those laws, like, there's backlash. All right, well, I hope that helps. And those are some of my remote viewing stories. And you are like me, a constant remote viewer. We're always remote viewing. And as we're ascending, that's going to be a key element in our lives. We're just, this ability, you do need to work on it, but recognize that it's always happening with everyone you interact with, and you will feel it more and more. The more work you do, the faster it will happen. But, and like me getting energy sessions with me, like that increases that ability. And it's just awesome. I can't even tell you. I think I did a card video where you just read the cards, and Arena had the cards backwards. But anywho, I hope this gave you some kind of insight and helped you in some way. Please subscribe, share, like, and visit soulsempower.com. And stick around for more videos, and check out some of the past ones. They're awesome. I always try to include something really life-changing or just inspirational. Something not just inspirational for no reason, like examples of your power, what you can do, how you can manifest, and be in divine will, your true purpose, and not be lost your whole life, right? We have power, we have electricity running through us. And the more of that, the more charged you are, the more amazing life's gonna be. And check out my electrokinesis videos and all that stuff, petting wild animals, and about so many different miracles and experiences I've caught on camera. And I don't know why, when I had a B-2 fly right over my head one day randomly, I was like recording UFOs, and then suddenly this beach that flashed in my mind. But yeah, it's like, if you're just there open, yeah, one day I opened a portal and I had a celebrity come visit, and then I had, like, Hollywood came there again. It was just like the most random spot. I mean, they never came to this state even, right? And so, yeah, you have so much power, and you just release that power, and just, you can change everything, change the world. I've seen, like, my energy just doing huge things sometimes. This could help the world, right? And so you realize how huge and healing and impactful this has on everything. I always say, though, that your thoughts determine the future. So it's not about looking at what the future is necessarily, because if you believe in like parallel realities or multiple different realities depending on where your consciousness is at, where you are. And there's just so many different types of belief systems, and whatever you're tapped into, that's more likely what's going to be working with you, the laws that are going to be working with you. But there are spiritual laws, and there's so many different types of spiritual laws that it gets kind of crazy. You're like, well, do I just pick one, or is there a right one, right? But remote viewing is one way to work with all of this, and it works, and it's amazing. So, all right, see ya.